Hi everyone, my name is Max Morale and my presentation is titled One Tree, Many Branches, because I will be discussing an issue specifically relating to the environment. As an environmental studies major, I am very interested in the environmental conservation movement, but I often find the environment pitted against business, and since I believe in the value of both, I was excited for the opportunity to research into this division and the ways in which a middle ground can be found more often. I chose to analyze this dilemma through a focus on the ideology of the two different sides. I will be combining both past and present information on the division to help unravel it and make finding a solution more clear. The two ideologies are the preservation movement and the utilitarian conservation movement. Both of these ideologies fall under the larger umbrella of the environmental conservation movement, but have key differences. The ideologies were founded by two friends in the early 20th century, when a national debate was sparked around an issue between urban development and national park preservation. John Muir, a famous nature writer, believed that nature had intrinsic worth and should be preserved for its own sake. Many Americans around the country agreed with this sentiment and thus formed the preservation movement. However, Gifford Pinchot and a large majority of the rest of Americans believed that nature was a resource that should be used in a way that will most benefit the greatest amount of people. This belief system became known as the utilitarian conservation movement, and thus the division between the two movements began. However, it took until the ethical and economic dilemma presented by the Hetch Hetchy Valley debate in the early 1900s to spark these beliefs into a national debate. Hetch Hetchy Valley lies in the northern part of the Yosemite National Park and was considered ecologically unique and was known as one of the most beautiful natural locations of the country. However, because it had a river running through it and a lot of water coming in from snowmelt on the surrounding peaks, it was a perfect place to build a dam. Thus, as San Francisco needed water for their rapidly growing population, and Hetch Hetchy was the cheapest, purest water it could get, they sent a proposal to Congress for the rights to the valley. Despite its great beauty and widespread significance to the American people, it was dammed and San Francisco was given a reliable water source. This was a tragedy for the preservation movement, but it did also have a lot of benefits. It has provided San Francisco with almost all of its water for the last 100 years at an outrageously low cost, and allowed the city and the entire surrounding Bay Area to become one of the most desired places to live, an economic and technological hub, and so much more. Also, the Hetch Hetchy Dam provides water to the San Joaquin Valley, which is the most productive agricultural location in the world. Clearly, there was both benefits and negatives to this Hetch Hetchy decision, which in and of itself is significant, but it becomes extraordinary when considering that it laid the precedent for all future debates between preservation and utilitarian conservation. Over the next 100 years, thousands more dams will be built and the urban sprawl will have increased significantly. So all of this information and the back and forth that was created because of the issue did not sit well with me. I felt like there has to be ways in which these beautiful and ecologically valuable places can be preserved without getting in the way of the progress and development of the human world. So after researching the origins of the division of the movement to better understand the problem, it was clear there was a precedent that was set forth from the conclusion of the Hetch Hetchy debate. I began to focus more on how that precedent has shaped the United States environment today. I found both a lot of successes and a lot of shortcomings. There is a litany of problems that are facing basic environmental topics because of this lack of value placed on ecological processes. However, there was also an enormous amount of economic success that would not have been possible without utilizing the nation's resources at such an extreme rate. The standard of living and all the great things in the United States are in part result to the great economic success the nation has enjoyed from the economy first mindset set forth by the utilitarian conservation precedent. However, this is not enough. I do not think that this combination of both good and bad results is something to settle for. The United States can do even more. With the technology and intelligence available today, there's undoubtedly many ways in which the environmental problems can be fixed while still providing the avenue for success that the US has been able to enjoy and make the most of. One idea that is particularly interesting is an idea called the Coase theorem. The Coase theorem states that when there are competing interests in economics and environmental issues, the most efficient outcomes will occur through bargaining between the two-party interests. In other words, by creating monetary value for things that are not often considered in regular economics, a level playing field for the environment is more feasible. So if you live in a city with poor air quality from a factory, the citizens could get together and collectively ask the factory to reduce their toxic emissions to manageable levels and reimburse them for the loss in money that lower emissions will cost the factory. This works because the citizens get to decide how much clean air is worth to them, and the factory does not have its net profits altered. In the case of Hetch Hetchy, the valley could have been preserved, and Yosemite National Park and other preservationist groups could have reimbursed San Francisco some of the extra money it will take them to use a different water source. In such a case, the total level of satisfaction will have been raised significantly. So despite a small difference in the value of the environment, it is still possible for utilitarian conservationists and preservationists to work together and find mutually beneficial solutions. I hope we can all learn from this and help conserve our environment in the most efficient and effective ways. Thank you.